I stared at the bank statement in my trembling hands, the numbers swimming before my eyes. 27 years of blind trust shattered in an instant. The secret account my mother had been maintaining in my name contained over $380,000, money I'd earned but never knew existed. My name is Margaret, and until this morning, I thought I was doing okay, managing my finances under my mother's guidance. Now I know I've been living a carefully orchestrated lie. "Margaret, honey, are you home?" Mom's voice echoed through the house, making me jump. I quickly folded the statement and shoved it into my jacket pocket. "In the study," I called back, trying to keep my voice steady. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd found the statement while searching for a stapler in her desk drawer. The same desk where she'd sat me down countless times to lecture me about financial responsibility. Mom appeared in the doorway, perfectly put together as always. "What are you doing in here?" "Just needed a stapler," I said, holding up the object like a shield. "For work documents." She smiled, that knowing smile that had always made me feel safe, but now made my skin crawl. "You know you can use my office anytime, sweetie. I've always said that transparency is important in this family." I almost choked on the hypocrisy. "Thanks, Mom." I gathered my papers, careful to keep the statement hidden. "I should get going. Meeting Soleil for coffee." "Oh?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "I thought you were trying to save money this month." "It's just coffee," I said, the familiar guilt creeping in before anger pushed it aside. My own money. She'd been controlling my own money. "Well, remember what we talked about regarding unnecessary expenses?" She adjusted a picture frame on her desk. Me at my college graduation, beaming while she stood beside me, one hand firmly on my shoulder. "Maybe Soleil could come here instead." "No, I need to get out." I grabbed my bag, nearly knocking over a chair in my haste to leave. "Don't wait up." 20 minutes later, I sat across from Soleil at our favorite coffee shop, sliding the statement across the table. My cousin's eyes widened as she read the numbers. "Holy shit, Mags." She looked up at me, her coffee forgotten. "All this time?" "Every paycheck since I started working." She's been skimming off the top, managing my money. I made air quotes with my fingers, telling me I need to budget better, that I'm not responsible enough to handle my own finances. "While sitting on nearly 400 grand of your money." Soleil's voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. She lowered it again. "That's not management, that's theft." "She probably thinks she's protecting me," I said, surprising myself by defending her. "Old habits die hard. You know how she is." "Stop it." Soleil reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Stop making excuses for her. This is abuse, Margaret. Financial abuse." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd spent my whole life believing my mother knew best, that her strict control was love. Now everything looked different, tainted. I found something else, too. I pulled out my phone, showing Soleil the emails I'd discovered. She's been intercepting my bank statements, credit card offers, everything. She has complete access to my accounts, but I can barely see my own balance without her hovering over my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, my hand steady now as I picked up my coffee. "I'm going to take it all back, not just the money, my life, my independence, everything. But I need to be smart about it." "You need a lawyer," Soleil said immediately. "I need more than that. I need a plan." I pulled out a notebook, flipping to a clean page. Mom's always preaching about the importance of careful planning, right? Well, I learned from the best. Soleil's smile turned wicked. "Count me in, whatever you need." As we began plotting, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Remember to save your receipt from the coffee shop for your expense tracking." I showed it to Soleil, who rolled her eyes. "She has no idea what's coming, does she?" "No," I said, closing the message without responding. "But she will." I'm done being the good, obedient daughter she can manipulate. It's time she learned that her perfect little girl has grown up, and she's not going to like what she sees. I opened my notebook and started writing, each word a brick in the foundation of my independence. The game of control and submission that had defined our relationship was about to change dramatically. And for once, I would be the one making the rules. An untraceable account. Devin leaned back in his leather office chair, studying me over his reading glasses. Margaret, what exactly are we dealing with here? I slid the bank statement across his desk. His eyebrows shot up as he reviewed the numbers. Then he let out a low whistle. Your mother did this. Every penny I've earned since I was 16, I said. She's been protecting me from my own money. Soleil, who'd insisted on coming with me to the lawyer's office, spoke up from her chair beside me. We need to know what options Margaret has. Legally speaking. Devin removed his glasses, polishing them with his tie as he thought. Technically, if your mother had authorization to manage these accounts, which she made me give her when I was 18, I interrupted. She said it was the responsible thing to do. Then she hasn't broken any laws. Morally questionable, absolutely, but legally. He spread his hands apologetically. I don't care about pressing charges, I said. I just want control of my own life, my own money. Now that's something we can work with. Devin pulled out a legal pad. First step, we set up new accounts at a different bank. Your mother won't have access or even know they exist. She checks everything, I warned. My mail, my email, my phone records. Then we go digital, Soleil suggested. Paperless statements, secure email address she doesn't know about. Exactly, Devin agreed. And I know someone who can help with the next part. A business consultant named Hector. He specializes in startups and investment strategies. My phone buzzed. Mom's daily check-in text. Don't forget we're having dinner with the Petersons tonight. Wear something professional. I ignored it. Tell me more about Hector. 2 hours later, I sat across from Hector at a small cafe 3 towns over, far from my mother's usual haunts. He had kind eyes and a quick smile that put me at ease immediately. So, he said, spreading out some documents between us, Devin tells me you're interested in starting a business. I have skills, I said. I've been managing social media campaigns for other companies for years, but my mother always said striking out on my own would be too risky. The biggest risk in business is letting fear stop you, Hector replied. Show me what you've got. I pulled out my portfolio, walking him through campaigns I'd created. His eyes lit up as he flipped through the pages. This is impressive work, he said. Why are you still doing this for other people when you could be building your own empire? Because until now, I didn't have access to startup capital. I smiled. But things have changed. How much are we talking about? I can move about 50,000 without raising suspicion. For now. Hector nodded, scribbling notes. That's more than enough to get started. We'll need to move fast, though. Set up an LLC, create a business plan. Margaret. A familiar voice made my blood run cold. I turned to see Mrs. Peterson, my mother's bridge partner, standing by our table. Mrs. Peterson, what a surprise. I forced a smile, casually sliding my portfolio under some papers. I thought you were working today, she said, eyes darting between me and Hector. Just a quick lunch meeting, I said smoothly. Client consultation. Oh, how lovely. Will we see you at dinner tonight? Of course, wouldn't miss it. After she left, Hector raised an eyebrow. That could be a problem. She'll tell my mother she saw me here, I agreed, but it might work in our favor. Let Mom think I'm just taking on extra freelance work. It'll keep her from looking too closely at what we're really doing. Smart, he said, but we need to be careful. One wrong move could ruin everything, I finished. I know, but I'm done being careful. I'm done being controlled. Then let's make this happen. Hector pulled out his laptop. By the time your mother figures out what's going on, you'll be too established for her to stop you. My phone buzzed again. Mrs. Peterson says she saw you at lunch. We need to talk about taking on extra work without consulting me first. I showed Hector the message. He shook his head. You're really ready for this? Once we start, there's no going back. I thought about the hidden account, the years of manipulation, the constant control. I'm not going back, I'm going forward, full speed ahead. Then let's give your mother something to really talk about. Hector opened a new document and typed, "Empowered Digital Marketing, LLC." Looking at those words, I felt a thrill of excitement and fear, my first real step toward freedom. My mother had taught me everything about control. Now it was time to show her just how well I'd learned those lessons. 3 new clients this week. I high-fived Hector across our shared workspace in the co-working facility. We'd chosen this location carefully, modern, professional, and most importantly, 20 miles from my mother's usual territory. "And that tech startup wants to triple their social media budget," Hector added, sliding a contract across the desk. "They loved your campaign strategy." I signed the paperwork with a flourish, savoring the moment. 2 months into our venture, and Empower Digital was already exceeding our projections. My phone lit up with Mom's face. I let it go to voicemail. "You can't avoid her forever," Hector said, but he was smiling. "How are you explaining all these client meetings?" "Freelance work for my old agency. She's not happy about it, but she can't argue with the extra money flowing into the account she monitors." I grinned. Of course, she has no idea about our other accounts. The phone rang again. This time, I answered. "Margaret, where are you? It's nearly dinner time." "Working late, Mom. Big project due tomorrow." Again, "That's the 3rd time this week. I'm worried you're taking on too much. Why don't you come home and let me look over your budget? Maybe we can find a way for you to work less." I caught Hector rolling his eyes and had to stifle a laugh. "I'm fine, Mom. Really. I'll grab something here." "Well, at least tell me where you are. I can bring you a proper dinner." "No need. I'll see you later." I hung up before she could protest. "Speaking of dinner," Hector said, "our potential investors are confirmed for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at La Maison." My stomach fluttered with nervous excitement. If this meeting went well, we could expand faster than we'd planned. "Did you send them our proposal?" "This morning. They're particularly interested in your innovative approach to..." The office door burst open, making us both jump. Mom stood in the doorway, her face flushed. "Margaret Elizabeth Emerson, I tracked your phone's location." She stepped inside, taking in the modern office space, the whiteboards covered in strategy notes, and Hector's startled expression. "What is this place? And who is this man?" I stood up slowly, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. "Mom, this is Hector, my business partner." "Business partner?" She spat the words like they tasted bad. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about my company, Empower Digital Marketing." I gestured to the logo on the wall. "We've been operational for 2 months. Mom's face went from red to white. 2 months? You started a company without telling me, without consulting me? I'm 27 years old, Mom. I don't need your consultation or permission. But the risk, the liability, the taxes." She turned to Hector. "Who are you really? What are your credentials?" Hector stood, extending his hand professionally. "Hector Reyes, MBA from Stanford, 10 years in digital marketing consulting. Your daughter is one of the most talented strategists I've ever worked with." Mom ignored his hand. "This is ridiculous. Margaret, gather your things. We're going home to discuss this." "No, we're not." I walked around the desk to stand between them. "I have a client meeting to prepare for. You can either accept that I'm running my own business now, or you can leave. Your choice." The phone on my desk rang. I answered it on speaker, maintaining eye contact with Mom. "Empower Digital, this is Margaret speaking." "Ms. Emerson, this is Janet from TechFront Solutions. We'd like to double our original contract proposal. Your preliminary campaign results are extraordinary." Mom's mouth fell open as I handled the call professionally, scheduling a meeting for the following week. After I hung up, the silence in the office was deafening. "How?" Mom's voice cracked. "How are you funding this? That's not your concern anymore." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Is this why there have been unusual transactions in your account? Have you been diverting money into this scheme?" "I've been investing in my future," I corrected her. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we have work to do." Mom stood there for a long moment, her hands clenching and unclenching. Finally, she turned and walked out, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. After the door closed, Hector let out a low whistle. Well, that was intense. It's not over, I said, sinking back into my chair. She's going to dig into everything now. Try to find where the money's coming from. Let her dig. Hector pulled up our latest analytics report. By the time she figures it out, we'll be too successful for her to do anything about it. I nodded, turning back to our work. The confrontation I'd been dreading had come and gone, and I was still standing. More than standing, I was thriving. For the first time in my life, I felt truly powerful. The real question was, what would Mom do next? Your credit score dropped 20 points, Mom announced at breakfast, waving her iPad like a weapon. I just checked. You're monitoring my credit score? I kept my voice level, buttering my toast with deliberate calm. 3 days had passed since her office invasion, and she'd been relentless. Someone has to watch out for your financial health. You've been making some concerning decisions lately. My credit score is fine, Mom, and it's none of your business. Everything about you is my business. She sat down across from me. I raised you, supported you, guided you, controlled me, I muttered. The doorbell rang before she could respond. Through the window, I saw Soleil's car in the driveway. Perfect timing, I said, grabbing my bag. I'm having breakfast with Soleil. But we're not finished discussing. Yes, we are. I opened the door to find Soleil already reaching for me. Emergency, she announced dramatically. Fashion crisis. Need my cousin's expert eye. Mom appeared behind me. Margaret has a doctor's appointment at 11. No, I don't, I said, stepping outside. Yes, you do. I scheduled it last week. Dr. Harrison wants to discuss your anxiety medication. I spun around. You what? I'm concerned about your recent behavior, the secretiveness, the reckless business decisions. The only thing causing me anxiety is you, I snapped. Cancel the appointment. I'm not going. In Soleil's car, I slumped against the seat. She's trying to make me look unstable. She's trying to maintain control, Soleil corrected, pulling away from the curb. But we've got bigger problems. Look what came in the mail yesterday. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from my mother's bank, addressed to her, requesting verification of some recent transfers. How did you get this? Mom's still on their mailing list from when she worked there. She showed it to me because she's worried about Aunt Roslyn. The bank flagged some suspicious patterns in her accounts. She's been searching for the money, I realized, trying to trace where I got the startup funds. And she's getting sloppy. Soleil turned into the office parking lot. You need to move faster. Inside, Hector was already in crisis mode. The investors called. Someone reached out to them with concerns about our company's stability. Let me guess, my mother. She implied you might be having a mental health crisis and shouldn't be trusted with major financial decisions. I dropped into my chair, rage building. She's trying to sabotage us. It gets worse, Hector said. She's been calling our clients. What? He pulled up an email. TechFront Solutions received a call from someone claiming to be your financial advisor, warning them about potential irregularities in our business practices. That's it. I grabbed my phone, but Soleil caught my wrist. Don't confront her, not yet. We need to handle this professionally. Agreed, Hector said. I've already contacted our lawyer. We're sending cease and desist letters to protect the company. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Dr. Harrison is concerned you missed your appointment. Coming to the office to check on you. She's on her way here, I warned. Perfect. Hector pulled out a folder. Because I have something to show her. When Mom arrived 15 minutes later, we were ready. She burst in without knocking, waving a stack of papers. Margaret, we need to discuss these transactions. Actually, Hector interrupted. We need to discuss your interference with our business. He slid a document across the desk. This is a cease and desist letter. Contact our clients again, and we'll take legal action. Mom's face reddened. How dare you threaten me? I'm trying to protect my daughter from what? I stood up. From success, from independence, from the truth about how you've been hiding my money for years. She froze. What are you talking about? The secret account, Mom. I know about all of it. That money is for your future, she sputtered. I've been protecting it for you. No, you've been stealing it from me. And now you're trying to destroy everything I've built because you can't control it. I'm calling your father, she threatened, reaching for her phone. Go ahead. Tell him how you've been embezzling from your own daughter. I'm sure he'd love to hear all about it. Mom's hand dropped. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. You're going to stop interfering with my business. You're going to stop monitoring my accounts. And you're going to transfer every penny of my money back to me. Or what? I smiled, channeling her own cold authority. Or everyone, Dad, the family, your precious social circle, learns exactly what kind of mother you really are. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked out without another word. That was badass, Soleil whispered, but Hector looked worried. You know this isn't over, right? Oh, I know, I said, watching Mom's car pull away. This is just the beginning. The annual family dinner was Mom's power play, her chance to showcase her perfect life and perfect daughter. This year, she'd invited everyone despite our ongoing Cold War. I knew why. Appearances mattered more than anything. Margaret, you're not wearing that, are you? Mom eyed my professional pantsuit as I helped set the table. What's wrong with it? That blue dress I bought you would be more appropriate. This is fine, Mom. I placed the last fork with precise alignment, one of her many lessons I couldn't shake. The doorbell rang, and the performance began. Aunt Claire, Uncle Robert, Soleil, and various other relatives filtered in, carrying dishes and forced smiles. Everyone knew something was wrong between Mom and me, but no one dared mention it. Margaret, darling. Aunt Claire air-kissed my cheeks. How's that little business of yours going? Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. Oh, she's just doing some freelance work, nothing serious. Actually, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, Empower Digital just landed 3 major corporate clients. We're expanding next month. The room went quiet. Mom's smile tightened. How wonderful, Aunt Claire said, looking between us uncertainly. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone. In fact, our latest campaign just went viral. Want to see? Perhaps during dessert, Mom interrupted. Dinner's getting cold. We settled around the dining room table. Mom's perfect tableau of family harmony. She'd placed me directly across from her, where she could monitor every bite, every gesture. So Robert, Mom said, passing the potatoes, how's the investment firm? Uncle Robert launched into a story about market trends, but I caught Mom watching me as I typed something on my phone under the table. Margaret, she said sharply, no phones at dinner, you know the rules. Sorry, just confirming a meeting with our investors tomorrow. They're very excited about our growth projections. Soleil, sitting beside me, poorly concealed her smirk. Investors? Dad looked up from his plate. You never mentioned investors, Rosalind. Because there's nothing to mention, Mom said quickly. Margaret's just experimenting with some online marketing work. Nothing serious enough for investors. Nothing serious. I set down my fork. Our company valuation just hit 7 figures. The clatter of silverware stopped. Dad's eyebrows shot up. 7 figures? He repeated. How did you manage that so quickly? Yes, Margaret. Mom's voice could have frozen water. How did you manage that? Hard work, smart investments, and complete control over my own finances. I met her gaze steadily. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you have access to your own money. Mom's wine glass trembled slightly as she lifted it. I don't think this is appropriate dinner conversation. Why not? Isn't financial success something to celebrate? I turned to the table at large. In fact, I've learned so much about money management recently. Would anyone like to hear about the importance of maintaining transparent banking relationships? Margaret. Mom's warning tone was familiar, but it had lost its power. Or we could discuss the legal implications of unauthorized account management. That's enough? Mom slammed her hand on the table, making the plates jump. Roslyn, Dad was looking between us, confusion turning to concern. "What's going on?" "Nothing," she said. "Margaret's just being dramatic." "Am I?" I pulled an envelope from my bag and slid it across the table to Dad. "These are bank statements showing how Mom's been hiding my earnings for years. Almost $400,000 in a secret account." The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Dad opened the envelope with shaking hands. "Roslyn, is this true?" Mom stood up, her chair scraping back. "I was protecting her, making sure she didn't waste her money on foolish things like this ridiculous business venture. The business venture that's already more successful than anything you ever achieved." The words were cruel, but I couldn't stop them. "Face it, Mom, you're not protecting me, you're controlling me, and it's over." "How dare you speak to me like that?" She turned to the stunned family members. "Can't you see what's happening? She's turned against me, her own mother." "No, Mom. You turned against me the moment you decided I couldn't be trusted with my own life." Soleil squeezed my hand under the table as Mom stormed out of the dining room. The sound of her heels on the stairs echoed through the silent house. Dad stared at the bank statements, his face ashen. "I had no idea." "I know, Dad." I stood up, gathering my things. "But now everyone does." As I walked out, leaving the wreckage of Mom's perfect family dinner behind, I heard Aunt Claire whisper, "Just like her mother, always has to be in control." But she was wrong. I wasn't like my mother at all. I was something she never expected me to be. Free. The letter arrived 3 days after the disastrous family dinner. Heavy cream paper, Mom's precise handwriting on the envelope. I opened it at my desk while Hector watched with concern. "Dear Margaret," I read aloud, "I've transferred the full amount from the secondary account back to your primary account. I trust this resolves any misunderstandings between us. We can discuss your temporary emotional state when you're feeling more rational. Love, Mother." Hector whistled. Temporary emotional state. Classic Mom. She still thinks she can spin this. I crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash. But at least she returned the money. My phone rang. Dad's number. I put it on speaker. "Hey, Dad. Margaret, we need to talk about your mother." His voice sounded tired. "She's not eating, barely sleeping. Says she's lost her daughter. She lost me the moment she decided to steal from me. She says she was investing it for your future." Dad stopped defending her. I shared a look with Hector, who nodded encouragingly. "Did you know she's been calling my clients, trying to sabotage my business?" A long pause. "She mentioned being concerned about your company's stability." "The company that's about to close $1 million deal?" I pulled up our latest contract on my screen. "The one that's been featured in 3 business magazines this month?" I don't understand how things got so bad between you two. Ask her about the doctor's appointment she tried to force me into. Ask her about monitoring my credit score, my phone, my entire life. Better yet, ask her why she really kept that money hidden." The office door opened, and Soleil burst in, waving her phone. "You need to see this." "Dad, I have to go. Just think about what I said." I hung up and turned to Soleil. "What's wrong?" She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a social media post from Mom. "Heartbroken mother seeking advice. My daughter has fallen under the influence of manipulative business partners. How do I protect her from herself?" The post had hundreds of comments, mostly from her country club friends and social circle, all sympathizing with her plight. "She's trying to control the narrative," Hector said, reading over my shoulder. "Look at the comments." Soleil scrolled down. "Poor Roslyn, such a devoted mother. These young people think they know everything. Maybe she needs professional help." My hands shook with rage. She's making me look unstable, setting up her defense in case I go public with what she did. The phone on my desk rang. Our biggest potential client. "Ms. Emerson, we've received some concerning information about your company's background." I put on my most professional voice. "What kind of information?" Well, someone claiming to be your mother called our board. She raised questions about your mental state and financial reliability. I muted the phone. Hector, get me the latest campaign metrics. Soleil, the press coverage files. Unmuting. I understand your concerns. Please allow me to email you our current performance data, press coverage, and client testimonials. Would you also like to schedule a video call with our entire team? 20 minutes later, crisis averted. I slumped in my chair. She's not going to stop, Soleil said quietly. No, she's not. I sat up straight. Decision made. Which is why we're going to end this, once and for all. What are you thinking? Hector asked. Mom's birthday gala is next week, the biggest social event of her year. Everyone who matters to her will be there. Soleil's eyes widened. You wouldn't. I would. And I will. I pulled up my email. Time to RSVP yes to that party invitation. Margaret, Hector said carefully. Are you sure? This could get ugly. It's already ugly. But Mom's playing by old rules. Whispered rumors, social manipulation, careful appearances. I'm going to change the game. I drafted a quick email to our lawyer. Need to discuss options for full financial disclosure at a public event. She'll never forgive you, Soleil warned. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm looking for freedom. And sometimes, I hit send on the email. Freedom comes at a price. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Delighted you'll attend my birthday celebration. Wear the blue dress. It's more appropriate than your business attire. I showed it to Soleil and Hector. One last time, she's trying to dress me up like her perfect doll. So what are you going to wear? Soleil asked. I smiled, thinking of the power suit I'd just bought. Crimson red, sharp as a blade. Something unforgettable. Because this time, when I walked into one of Mom's perfect parties, I wouldn't be playing the role she'd assigned me. I'd be playing by my own rules, and the grand finale would be one her precious social circle would never forget. The country club ballroom sparkled with Mom's signature perfectionism. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, and champagne flowing freely. I stood at the entrance, the red power suit drawing disapproving glances from her social circle. Margaret, Mom's voice carried across the room. You didn't wear the dress I suggested. Happy birthday, Mom. I kissed her cheek, feeling her stiffen at the contact. Don't worry, I'm dressed perfectly for my presentation. Presentation? Her smile faltered. There's no presentation on the schedule. There is now. I nodded to Hector, who was setting up a laptop and projector at the side of the room. Whatever you're planning. She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. Don't you dare make a scene at my party. You mean like the scene you made calling my clients? Or posting about my mental state on social media? Her fingers released me as other guests approached. Rosalind, darling. Mrs. Peterson air-kissed Mom's cheeks. What a lovely evening. Though I'm surprised you're allowing business presentations at your birthday celebration. Oh, she's not allowing anything, I said sweetly. This is happening whether she likes it or not. I walked away, leaving Mom to damage control. Soleil met me by the bar, looking stunning in a black cocktail dress. Everything's ready, she whispered. Dad's here too. I spotted him across the room, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. He caught my eye and gave a small nod. After our last phone call, I'd sent him copies of everything. The bank statements, Mom's interference with my business, all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Hector's voice carried through the sound system. If I could have your attention, please. The crowd turned, champagne glasses in hand. Mom stood frozen by the roses, her perfect mask slipping. As many of you know, I took the microphone. My mother has always been passionate about financial education, about teaching the value of money management. Appreciative murmurs from the crowd. Mom took a step forward, but Soleil smoothly intercepted her. So tonight, I'd like to share some lessons I've learned about money. I clicked to the first slide, a bank statement showing the hidden account. Lesson 1. Always know where your money is going, even if someone else is hiding it from you. Gasps rippled through the room. Mom's face went white. For those in the back, this is an account containing nearly $400,000 of my earnings, money that was redirected without my knowledge or consent. Margaret, stop this immediately. Mom's voice shook. Lesson 2, I continued, clicking to the next slide. Screenshots of her social media posts and emails to my clients. Be careful who you trust with your financial information. Some people might use it against you. Is this true, Rosalind? Mrs. Peterson's voice cut through the murmurs. Did you really hide her money? I was protecting her. Mom surged forward. She wasn't ready to manage it herself. Really? I clicked again, showing our company's latest valuation. Because in just 3 months, that unstable daughter you're so worried about built this, a 7-figure company, without your help or permission. The room erupted in whispers. I saw Dad put his head in his hands. Lesson 3, success is the best revenge. I turned directly to Mom. You can't control me anymore. Not my money, not my business, not my life. How dare you? Mom grabbed the microphone. After everything I've done for you. You mean everything you've done to me? I yanked the microphone back. You didn't protect me, you imprisoned me. Every dollar I earned, every decision I made, had to go through you. Well, guess what? I'm done. Margaret, please. She reached for me, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. You're my daughter. I love you. No, Mom. You love controlling me. There's a difference. I turned back to the stunned crowd. Final lesson. Sometimes the people who claim to protect you are the ones you need protection from. Clicking to the last slide, I displayed the transfer receipt from the hidden account. Thank you, Mom, for returning my money. Consider it your birthday gift to me. Financial freedom. The room was dead silent. Mom stood there, mascara running, as her perfect world crumbled around her. Oh, and one more thing. I pulled an envelope from my suit pocket. This is a restraining order. Stay away from my business. Stay away from my clients. Stay away from me. I placed it on the gift table and walked toward the exit. As I passed Dad, he grabbed my hand. Was this necessary? He whispered. Yes, I said firmly. It was. At the door, I turned back one last time. Mom had collapsed into a chair, her society friends awkwardly patting her shoulders while shooting scandalized glances my way. Happy birthday, Mom, I called out. Thanks for teaching me everything I know about control. Then I walked out into the night, leaving the wreckage of her perfect party behind me, feeling lighter than I had in 27 years. The morning after the party, I sat in my office, watching the sun rise over the city. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages, mostly from relatives choosing sides in the aftermath. I ignored them all. The door opened, and Hector walked in with coffee. You're here early. Never left. I gestured to the couch where I'd spent the night. Didn't want to go home. About that, he handed me a coffee. Your dad's in the lobby. I nodded, not surprised. Send him up. Dad looked older than he had last night, his bow tie hanging loose around his neck like he hadn't bothered changing after the party. Your mother's a mess, he said without preamble. I know. She checked herself into a wellness center this morning. That I hadn't expected. Her choice or yours? Hers. He sat heavily in the chair across from my desk. She said she needs to understand why she did what she did, why she couldn't let you go. And what do you think? I think I failed you both. His voice cracked. I saw what was happening, the control, the manipulation, but I told myself she knew best, that she was protecting you. You weren't the only one she fooled. A knock at the door interrupted us. Soleil poked her head in. Sorry, but you need to see this. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was Mom's social media page. Her latest post read, "To my daughter, I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better." She posted it an hour ago, Soleil said quietly. Dad leaned forward. What are you going to do? Work. I handed the tablet back to Soleil. I have a company to run. Margaret. No, Dad. I'm done with her games. Even her apologies are public performances. Then why are you crying? I touched my cheek, Surprised to find it wet, Hector silently passed me a tissue. Because it hurts, I admitted, because part of me still wants my mom. But I can't have her without the control, the manipulation, the constant need to own every piece of me. Maybe the wellness center will help, Dad suggested. Maybe. But I'm not putting my life on hold to find out. My computer chimed with an email notification. The $1 million contract, signed and finalized. Despite everything Mom had tried, we'd landed it. Speaking of life, I turned the screen to show Dad. Want to see what your daughter built? For the next hour, I walked him through our business model, our success stories, our growth plans. His eyes lit up with understanding and pride. You really did it, he said. Everything your mother said you couldn't do. We did it, Hector corrected, gesturing between us. As equals, no control, no manipulation, just trust and hard work. Dad stood up slowly. I should go check on your mother. Dad? I called as he reached the door. Tell her I'm okay, better than okay. And if she ever really wants to talk, not control, not manipulate, just talk, she knows where to find me. After he left, Soleil perched on my desk. You're not actually going to forgive her, are you? No, I said, turning to the window. But I'm not going to let her control me with guilt either. She made her choices. I made mine. Speaking of choices, Hector pulled up our calendar. The business magazine wants to interview you. Rising Star Under 30 feature. I smiled, thinking of Mom, reading that article in her wellness center. Schedule it. And the real estate agent called. Soleil added, that condo you liked is available. Perfect. I stood up, straightening my suit. Time to move out of Mom's house for good. You know what this means? Hector grinned. Housewarming party. With no assigned seating, Soleil added. No dress code, I continued. And definitely no financial lectures. We all said together, laughing. My phone buzzed one last time. Another message from Mom. I understand now why you did what you did. I hope someday you'll understand why I did what I did too. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up our company's latest campaign draft. Ready to change some more lives? I asked my team. Always. They replied, and there it was, the truth I'd been fighting for all along. Success wasn't about proving Mom wrong. It was about proving myself right. About building something real, something mine, with people who supported me without trying to control me. I looked around my office, at Hector reviewing contracts, Soleil planning our next move, the city sprawling beyond my window full of possibilities, and felt truly, completely free. Not because I'd won the war with Mom, but because I'd finally stopped fighting it. This was my life now, my choices, my future, and it was beautiful.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily, sharing a story that's both tough and triumphant. I never expected to mesh well with my mother-in-law, Sophia. From the beginning, she was always sharp in her criticisms, often targeting my cooking, style, and even my career. Despite my efforts to let her comments slide and maintain my composure, it wasn't easy. Our relationship hit a new low during a family gathering a couple of years ago. Sophia, having had a bit too much to drink, turned to me and said, "Emily, I never really thought you were good enough for my son, but I guess we can't all have everything we want, can we?" Her words stung, and the shock on the faces around us only deepened my embarrassment. I hadn't done anything to provoke such a remark. I had always been a devoted and caring partner to her son, Bruce. Feeling humiliated and hurt, I excused myself and retreated to the bathroom, where I shed tears for what felt like an eternity. Following that day, I made a conscious decision to distance myself from Sophia, engaging with her only when necessary at family events. This decision significantly improved my mental health. Now, looking back, I sometimes feel a sense of accomplishment for handling things the way I did, even if I do give myself a metaphorical pat on the back now and then. But more importantly, my story is about sticking by the people you love, even when faced with unwarranted adversity, and about the resilience of love over familial approval. My husband Bruce has been my steadfast supporter throughout all this, and our bond has only grown stronger. And what about Bruce's take on all of this? He was aware that Sophia and I weren't exactly the best of friends, viewing our tension as just the usual mother-in-law and daughter-in-law friction that many couples experience. However, he was oblivious to the hurtful comment his mother had made that night, and I chose not to tell him. Although honesty is key in a relationship, I couldn't bear the thought of breaking his heart. Bruce adored his mother, and revealing what she said could potentially devastate him. It might even wreck the relationship he had with her. Having grown up without a strong relationship with my mother, I wanted to shield him from similar pain. A few weeks later, Sophia invited us to a dinner at her house, which was also a work event. "You two need to come to my party," she insisted over the phone. "It's important, and I've also invited some family members to impress my colleagues." Before Bruce and I could respond that we were both listening, she had already hung up. "What do you think, babe?" Bruce asked. Honestly, I preferred to skip it. "Well, I think I'd rather sit this one out," I replied. "Oh, come on, Emily, you're no fun anymore. You never want to go out to family functions. I know you don't like my mom, but is it that bad?" he questioned, unaware of the full story. I explained that large groups made me uncomfortable, especially since this event was more for her work colleagues. But Bruce persisted, thinking maybe this was Sophia's way of trying to make amends. "Come on, let's help her out. It sounded like she wanted you there. Maybe this is her way of extending an olive branch. Please come with me." How could I say no to my loving husband? "Okay, babe, let's do this." Little did I know that the night of Sophia's big dinner event would be the last time I would hear from my mother-in-law in the way I had come to expect. The evening that unfolded turned out to be a significant turning point in our relationship. Bruce and I arrived at the event looking sharp, as Sophia had specifically requested. It was clear from the crowd that this was a significant gathering. Sophia was likely hosting it to curry favor with her superiors, perhaps to secure her retirement plans. She seemed determined to impress everyone there. As usual, I steeled myself for Sophia's covert jabs, which she delivered so subtly that she could easily deny them if anyone called her out. We all know someone like that, don't we? Navigating these situations was always challenging. While I could often spot her snide remarks, I'm sensitive and tend to shy away from confrontation, usually just brushing off the negativity. That night, however, as I prepared for an evening of sidestepping unpleasant comments, something unexpected happened. When I encountered Sophia for the first time in a long while, she greeted me with unexpected warmth. "Oh, my darling Emily, how have you been? You've been MIA. I'm so glad that you came out this time around," she exclaimed. Surprised, I replied, "Oh, I didn't think you noticed my absence." "Nonsense," she continued. "I'm so glad Bruce was able to convince you to come. You look stunning, by the way. Red is definitely your color, darling. You should wear it more often." Her kindness threw me off. Had something changed? Why this sudden niceness? While part of me wanted to believe in her sincerity, years of her past behavior made me skeptical of this abrupt change. As the evening progressed, Bruce and I found ourselves being showcased to Sophia's colleagues, almost like trophies. Bruce, ever the charismatic speaker, seemed to inherit that trait from his mother. The conversations flowed smoothly, making it easier for me to relax a bit. Sophia's co-workers turned out to be genuinely sweet and kind, which was a pleasant surprise. As the night continued, I began to cautiously enjoy myself, though part of me remained on guard, wondering about the real reason behind Sophia's sudden shift in attitude. At the event, amidst all the familiar faces, one in particular caught my eye, Paul, a friend I hadn't seen in quite some time. His presence was a welcome sight. "Paul, how are you?" I greeted him warmly. "Hey, Emily, it's been a while. Can I talk to you?" Paul's tone was unusually serious, which immediately piqued my concern. Why was the normally cheerful Paul so somber? He led me to a quiet spot outside, away from the buzz of the party. "Paul, what's going on?" I asked, growing anxious. "Mace, I have some news, and I'm sorry in advance. I thought you needed to know what happened," he said, looking genuinely troubled. A chill ran down my spine. "Paul, I'm getting scared. What is it?" "I'm sorry for keeping you in suspense. It's just that, well, it's not easy for me to say. Part of me is embarrassed because it took me so long to bring this up," he confessed. "Oh, Paul, if this is about that crush you used to have on me, it's all water under the bridge. Please don't feel embarrassed about that," I tried to reassure him. "What? Oh, no, that's not it, but now that you mention it." He trailed off, then quickly refocused. "No, it's not about that. It's about Aunt Sophia." "Oh, well, tonight she's been quite charming, actually. She even complimented my outfit. I was starting to think maybe she was trying to make peace," I shared, hopeful that Sophia was turning over a new leaf. "Yeah, well, I don't think you'll feel the same way after seeing what I have to show you," Paul said gravely. He then showed me a video he had recorded on his phone. It was Sophia, tipsy and unguarded, talking to one of her friends in the kitchen. I could hear her say, "And her nose is way too big. She should seriously consider a nose job. And that dress? I knew she didn't have any fashion sense, but this is just horrendous. I don't know who told her that red is her color, but they should be arrested." Hearing Sophia's words felt like a punch in the stomach. Just when I thought we were making progress, this revealed her true feelings. It was a stark reminder of the reality behind her seemingly kind facade at the party. The revelation from Paul left me stunned, but sadly, this type of shock was becoming all too familiar. The severity of Sophia's malice surprised me anew each time, though I had grown somewhat accustomed to her critical nature. Earlier that evening, I had inadvertently overheard her talking maliciously about me as I returned from the bathroom. I tried to gather as much context as I could while staying out of sight. "I'm so sorry for all the awful things she said about you," Paul apologized. "It's okay, Paul. Unfortunately, I'm kind of used to it by now," I replied resignedly. "But that's the problem. You let her walk all over you. I'm sorry I didn't show you this earlier," he continued, showing regret. "There's nothing to apologize for," I assured him, trying to ease his concern. "I'm not talking about this video," Paul said, hinting at something more. "There's another important video that I think you need to see. I hid it from you all these years, thinking you'd prefer not to see such an embarrassing moment, but considering what I saw tonight, I'm glad I kept it." Paul then began to show me another video. At first, it wasn't clear what he was trying to show me, as it seemed like a casual recording of him talking with a relative. But in the background of the video, I could faintly hear the words that haunted me. "You know, Emily, I never really thought you were good enough for my son, but I guess we can't all have everything we want, can we?" Suddenly, the camera panned toward the source of the noise, revealing me looking visibly upset and Sophia smirking in my direction. I hastily exited the scene, unaware of the recording, while Sophia stayed, her expression smug. The air was thick with tension as she continued to speak dismissively about me. "Oh, come on, we were all thinking it. I can't stand that girl. I don't even know what Bruce sees in her. She's so ugly, and I doubt she even knows how to be a good mother." The video captured her continued rant until Paul, perhaps sensing the situation had gone too far, intervened. "Okay, Auntie Sophia, let's get you some water," he suggested, gently leading her away as the footage came to an abrupt end. This video was a painful but crucial piece of evidence, showing Sophia's true feelings in an unfiltered manner. It was a hard pill to swallow, knowing that her recent kindness was likely just a facade. I was unaware that Sophia had said all those harsh words after the incident, and that's why Paul hesitated to show me the video. It's a lot to take in, and I realize now I should have told you sooner. Maybe things could have been different. I was hoping that maybe Sophia was starting to accept you, but after today, it's clear nothing has changed, he explained, regret evident in his voice. Despite the sting of knowing that others were aware of Sophia's true sentiments while I was in the dark, I appreciated his intention to protect me. Thank you for telling me now, though. Better late than never, I guess, I acknowledged. Paul nodded. I'm going to send these videos to you right now. You can decide what to do with them, but I think you should show them to Bruce. However, I felt a sudden surge of determination. Tired of being passive and overlooked in the face of Sophia's blatant disrespect, I decided it was time to take a stand. Actually, I have a better idea, I said, clutching my phone with the newly received videos. I strode confidently towards the living room, where Sophia was amidst a presentation to her colleagues. Oh, darling, I'm so sorry, but this area is off limits for now, she tried to dismiss me. Trust me, I have some very important information that I think your coworkers would like to hear, I countered firmly. Oh, then, by all means, share what you have to say. Is it about my hard work ethic or my leadership skills? Sophia smirked, unaware of what I was about to reveal. It's even better than that. It shows the real you, I replied, my voice steady. Marvelous. Then, by all means, connect your phone to the TV. Oh, you guys, isn't my daughter-in-law just darling? She made a whole presentation about me, Sophia boasted, thinking she was about to be flattered. The room filled with murmurs of anticipation. At that moment, Bruce entered, having received my urgent text. Hey, I got your text. What's going on? Hey, love, I needed you here for this. It's very important, I said, my resolve unshaking. Bruce looked puzzled but intrigued. Bruce, can you believe it? Your wife made a lovely presentation about me. Everyone, come and see this, Sophia called out to the gathering guests. As the living room became crowded, I took a deep breath. Well, here goes nothing, I murmured, my fingers poised over the play button. Sophia, yes, I know you've never liked me, and honestly, I don't even understand why. All night, you've been acting like we're one big, happy family. With that, I played the video, revealing Sophia's true colors in her own words, in front of all her colleagues and family. The room fell silent, waiting for the fallout. Despite Sophia's earlier compliments, I knew the truth about her feelings towards me. As I prepared to reveal this truth, the atmosphere in the room shifted. People started to look and sound confused, shifting uncomfortably and murmuring among themselves about the drama that was about to unfold. Bruce, just trust me on this, I whispered to my husband as he looked on, bewildered. Facing Sophia, I said, Sophia, I understand you don't like me, but why be so cruel? I don't know what you're talking about. Give me back the remote. You shouldn't be present anymore, Sophia demanded, reaching for the remote. Not until I'm finished, I insisted, my voice steady. Remember how you said you loved my dress and that I look good in red? Yes, of course, she replied, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. Then why did you say this? I pressed the play button on the video that Paul had shown me earlier. It was taken that very evening. Sophia's harsh words echoed through the room, and though I had heard them before, they still stung deeply. The room gasped in shock. People were wondering why she would say such things. Bruce's eyebrows furrowed, a look of anger spreading across his face. I was talking about someone else, obviously, Sophia blustered, looking around the room desperately. However, I was the only one wearing red that night, making it blatantly obvious she was referring to me. Sophia's face flushed with anger and confusion. What are you trying to prove here, Emily? She snapped. Everyone, please don't mind this mishap. I believe Emily isn't well. You should go lie down, darling. Sophia tried to deflect. Oh no, Sophia, I'm quite fine. I feel very liberated, I responded calmly, holding the attention of everyone in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that's not all. Let me present to you something that occurred approximately 4 years ago. Some awful words were said to me and about me, and I thought it best to share them with you. I played the second video, the original one with those damning words that still haunted me. As the video played, the expressions of shock and disgust multiplied. Bruce looked especially upset, his face a mask of barely contained rage. When the video concluded, a heavy silence fell over the room. All eyes, including mine, were on Sophia. "You see, everyone, this is the real Sophia," I said, turning to face the crowd. "She might seem kind and warm, but don't be fooled. She can be as sweet as apple pie to your face, but the moment you turn around, she's ready with the sharpest insults." This moment of unveiling wasn't just about exposing Sophia. It was about reclaiming my dignity and showing that I no longer would tolerate being disrespected in silence. Throughout the evening, I had the pleasure of meeting many of you, and it's clear that you are part of a respectable and legitimate business. I urge you all to consider carefully how you support or promote Sophia, because based on my experiences, I would find it difficult to continue collaborating with someone who has demonstrated such ugliness and cruelty. As the room absorbed my words, Sophia frantically scanned the crowd, desperately seeking any ally willing to buy into what was likely fabrications designed to salvage her reputation. "Well, you see, the thing is, that day I was very drunk," Sophia stammered, attempting to excuse her behavior. Someone from the crowd called out, "Yeah, but a drunk mind speaks a sober heart." "Who said that? Reveal yourself," Sophia demanded, her voice tinged with panic. "Listen here, Emily, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to apologize to all of my guests for your behavior," Sophia insisted, trying to shift the blame. "No, I think it's you who needs to apologize, Mom," Bruce interjected firmly, breaking his silence. Until then, he had been a quiet observer, but now his frustration was palpable. "You treated my wife like this?" "Bruce, baby, don't baby me, Mom. What is wrong with you? Why would you say such awful things?" Sophia attempted to deflect. "Oh, come on, everybody. I was joking. Yes, that's what it was. It was all a prank. That's what you kids do nowadays, isn't it?" "Stop lying to us, Mom. You're only embarrassing yourself even more. You are a pathetic woman and a sad excuse for a colleague and a mother-in-law. I'm glad that everyone sees what I see now. What do you have to say for yourself?" Bruce's voice was stern, his disappointment evident. At this, Sophia began to cry, still trying to shift attention away from me and onto herself. She was seeking sympathy, but no one was inclined to offer it. Her desperation was palpable, and as her facade crumbled, the true extent of her bitterness became apparent. In a last-ditch effort to regain control, she lashed out at everyone, including her coworkers, accusing them of being trolls for not believing her. However, her outburst only worsened her situation. Spiraling, Sophia watched as, one by one, people, including her supervisors and superiors, began to leave the room. It was clear that Sophia's behavior not only isolated her professionally but also personally, as the true nature of her character was revealed to all. Sophia's actions at the event had severe consequences. Not only did she lose the trust and respect of those around her, but she also jeopardized her financial security. Bruce told me the next day that he overheard some colleagues saying that Sophia would be fired immediately for her gross misconduct. Sure enough, she was let go and received only a modest pension, far less than what she had hoped for. After the disastrous event, and once everyone had left, Bruce confronted his mother. In front of me, Paul, and a few other family members who had stayed behind, he demanded that she apologize. Sophia, a woman who had always prided herself on her assertiveness and control, was completely mortified. Being forced to take accountability for her actions was her worst fear realized. She apologized, albeit reluctantly, and then hurried off to her room. Following her dismissal, we wanted to reach out to Sophia. Despite everything, we felt it was right to offer some support. She was still family after all. However, Sophia cut off all communication. She didn't return any calls, not even Bruce's. Months passed, then half a year, and eventually a full year. Still, there was no word from Sophia. It was quite the fall from grace for someone who always had so much to say. Now, humbled by her circumstances, she became as quiet as a mouse. It was a sad, albeit self-inflicted turn of events. How pathetic it seemed that someone who once held so much influence chose isolation over making amends. Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm passionate about being a culinary expert. Cooking has been a significant part of my life since childhood, greatly influenced by my mother, who was an exceptional cook. Her encouragement sparked my early love for cooking, which naturally led me to culinary school. While I'm not one to boast, I do have a knack for creating delicious dishes. I previously worked at a well-known restaurant in Brooklyn, which is where I met my husband, Scott. He was dining with colleagues and was so impressed with the meal that he requested to meet the culinary expert, and the rest, as they say, is history. I haven't worked for celebrity culinary experts, but I pride myself on making food that genuinely pleases. My mother-in-law, Sandra, initially doubted my culinary skills. Despite not having formal culinary training, Sandra is an accomplished pastry chef in her hometown and worked at a local restaurant. Her baking is quite celebrated locally. The first time we met, Sandra somewhat skeptically inquired about my role in the culinary world, wondering if I was merely a salad preparer. I explained that I was the head culinary expert at a renowned restaurant and that preparing salads was just one of the many tasks I oversaw. Sandra hinted that she didn't need any pretense, reminding me of her reputation as a skilled pastry chef and cook beloved by her community. I responded enthusiastically, suggesting that we embark on a culinary journey together, hoping to collaborate on some exciting dishes. However, Sandra hesitated, pointing out the difference in our experience levels. She feared that her advanced techniques might be too complex for me to grasp. Undeterred, I expressed my eagerness to learn from her. Having been formally trained, I was confident in my ability to pick up new skills and was excited about the potential to learn from such an experienced pastry chef. I believe that cooking together could be a wonderful way for us to grow and share our love of food. Then Sandra said, with a hint of disdain, "Oh, please, I won't waste my time on just anyone who claims to be a head culinary expert. I'm far too busy with my work to offer private lessons. Perhaps when you're as experienced as I am, you might reach my level, or perhaps not." She laughed as she spoke, exuding a strong sense of pride that made me uncomfortable. Despite my initial desire to respect her experience, her dismissive attitude became increasingly hard to tolerate. She seemed convinced that I was inferior, a notion that stung deeply after years of working in the demanding culinary industry. As I strove to remain composed, her taunts began to wear me down, especially after Scott and I married. Her jibes at my cooking skills became more frequent and harsher, sometimes even belittling me in front of our guests. Even Scott, who was usually so supportive, grew weary of her condescending and arrogant demeanor. He often defended me, affirming my abilities as a culinary expert, but his mother remained unyielding in her skepticism. The tension escalated during a visit to Sandra's town. We stayed at her home for 2 weeks, during which I hoped to connect with the place where Scott grew up. About 5 days into our visit, Sandra threw down a gauntlet. "My son sings praises of your cooking," she said, her voice tinged with offense. "It hurts to think he might regard it so highly, given his own mother's capabilities." "It's not like that, Mom," Scott interjected. "I love your cooking too, but it's unfair how you demean and criticize her, especially without ever having tasted her food." "Why don't we solve this issue then?" Sandra proposed. "Let's have a family dinner tomorrow, and Elizabeth can cook. I want to see for myself if she's as good as you say." I agreed, masking my reluctance with enthusiasm. "I'd love to cook a family dinner, Sandra. I've been waiting for you to try some of my dishes. I'll do my best to impress you." Truthfully, my interest wasn't in impressing Sandra. I knew her pride might prevent her from ever truly appreciating my efforts. Nonetheless, I was ready to put my skills to the test, hoping to maybe, just maybe, change her mind. Eager to prove my culinary skills, I agreed to prepare a special dinner for the following day, completely unaware that Sandra had proposed this idea intending to embarrass me. I discovered her motives the next day under quite shocking circumstances. While I was in my room waiting for the dinner to cook, I received a text from Sandra, who was just in the next room. Curious, I opened it to find a video of her adding an excessive amount of salt to my dish. She followed the video with a message. "Now let's see if Scott still thinks you're better than me. After today, he'll never praise your cooking again." Stunned by her actions, I couldn't help but respond. "Wow, Sandra, you've ruined the meal I worked so hard on, and then you send me this video to mock me? How can you have no shame? I spent hours preparing it." Unmoved, she retorted, "I don't care, Miss Wannabe Head Culinary Expert. You're just a little girl who thinks she's better than me. Today we'll see who wins. You're acting very unethically, Sandra. This isn't how someone wins or loses. This was never meant to be a competition. You sabotaged my food." "Whatever, Elizabeth. You don't have enough time to make a new meal now. Scott will be home within an hour. It'll be so fun to see you get humiliated in front of him." Her words filled me with anger and disbelief at her cruelty. She mocked me even after sabotaging my hard work. I wanted to break down and cry, but I composed myself, refusing to let her see my distress. I immediately called Scott, needing to reveal the truth urgently. "Scott, we need to talk about something important," I said. "Sure, what's the matter, Elizabeth?" he replied. "Scott, I don't know how to say this, but your mom has tried to sabotage my cooking," I confessed. "Are you sure about this, Elizabeth? It's highly unlikely that Mom would do something like that," he questioned. "She sent me a video of her adding too much salt to my dish. I left the food in the oven and went to our room for my phone," I explained, hoping he would understand the gravity of the situation. As I scrolled through the messages, I found the video Sandra had sent to sabotage my dish. I immediately showed it to Scott, insisting, "If you don't believe me, just watch this." Initially, Scott was in denial, unable to accept that his mother could engage in such underhanded behavior. But once he saw the video, his disbelief turned to shock. He had read plenty of stories about difficult mothers-in-law, but never imagined his mother would embody one of those tales. Witnessing the evidence firsthand, he was incensed. We discussed the situation at length, and Scott was adamant that his mother needed to learn a lesson from this. After some thought, he said with a determined look, "You know what, Elizabeth? I'm going to invite someone special for dinner. Let's see if my mom can impress someone truly significant with her altered recipe." Curious and intrigued, I replied, "What do you have in mind, Scott? You look like you've hatched a brilliant plan." "I'll tell you later who I've invited," he teased, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Trust me, it's going to be memorable. After today, I'm not sure I'd want my mom involved in our lives much, but that alone won't be enough for her. She needs a real wake-up call. Altering someone's food isn't just wrong, it's an offense. Today, it's too much salt. Tomorrow, who knows? We need to address this behavior immediately so she realizes the magnitude of her mistake." I appreciated Scott's resolve. "I'm relieved to hear you say that," I admitted. "Honestly, I've been hoping we might distance ourselves from Sandra after this. Knowing you feel the same brings me immense relief." Scott laid out his plan, which was both clever and fitting. It was clear he thought Sandra deserved a dose of her own medicine, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation at the thought of her reaction upon realizing her misstep. I wholeheartedly approved of the plan, and Scott proceeded to call his special guest. We decided not to tell Sandra immediately. The element of surprise would make the reveal all the more impactful. After 3 hours, the meal was ready. Our meal, I should say. Because despite her intentions, Sandra's involvement was indeed indispensable. The stage was set for an evening that promised to be as enlightening as it was dramatic. I had to exert a lot of effort to keep my composure and not burst into laughter, all while making sure Sandra didn't catch on to my amusement. Despite the excessive salt Sandra had sneakily added, the dinner looked quite appetizing, a testament to my culinary skills. Both Sandra and I were looking forward to the dinner, albeit for very different reasons. We proceeded to the dining area to finalize the preparations. Scott was already home, busy setting up the table. Sandra seemed puzzled to see an extra chair and questioned him. "Scott, you seem to have miscounted. There are only 3 of us. Why is there an extra chair?" "Oh, I forgot to mention, Mom, I invited someone over today," Scott responded calmly. "Elizabeth has put so much effort into this meal. I thought it would be great to have some professional judgment on it." Sandra's curiosity piqued. "Oh, and who might that be? Do I know this person?" "Yes, Mom, you know her quite well. It's my friend Laura," Scott revealed. "Since she's your boss and has a great palate, I figured she'd be the perfect guest to invite." Sandra's expression shifted rapidly from curious to alarmed, a change so abrupt I almost lost my composure right there. Scott, maintaining a straight face, feigned concern. "Is everything okay, Mom?" It was clear he relished the clever twist he had added. Laura was a good friend of ours, and originally Scott's friend, but we had quickly bonded over our shared love for food. By a stroke of fate, Laura also happened to be Sandra's boss, as she managed the restaurant where Sandra worked as a pastry chef. Laura was in on the plan and had eagerly agreed to join us for dinner. Before Sandra could recover from her shock, Laura walked in, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Hey guys, thank you so much for inviting me. I was getting a bit bored at home since my husband was away on business. I'm looking forward to tasting what Elizabeth has prepared." She greeted us cheerfully. "Thanks for coming, Laura. We're thrilled to have you here," I replied while subtly glancing at Sandra. "I just sprung this invitation on you and Mom. Mom, I hope you don't feel uncomfortable. Laura is practically family after all." Sandra, a bit flustered, managed a response. "Oh, it's not a problem at all. I'm happy my boss can taste what my culinary expert daughter-in-law has cooked. Thank you for coming, Laura." As she mumbled these words, Sandra avoided making eye contact with Laura, who smiled innocently and took her seat at the table, remarking on how wonderful the food looked. The tension was palpable, but the stage was set for an unforgettable evening. I graciously rose from my seat and began serving the meal to everyone at the table. I made sure to give Sandra a particularly generous portion, since she had been so eager to critique my cooking. However, as soon as everyone tasted the food, their reactions were immediate and telling. They spat it out. I too tasted it and was dismayed by the overwhelming saltiness. It was genuinely unpleasant. Sandra, who couldn't hide her reaction, began coughing from the intense flavor, and in her distress confronted me angrily. "Oh my God, Elizabeth, this is horrible. Why did you put so much salt in it? You're a terrible cook. I was right all along. Going to culinary school doesn't guarantee you're a good cook. I'm so embarrassed that Laura had to taste this," she exclaimed. Laura, ever the diplomat, interjected with a thoughtful observation. "This is quite bad, but it's highly unlikely that this much salt was added by mistake. A professional would know." "Yes, Laura, this can't be an accident. A professional always knows their measurements." I supported her statement. emphasizing the impossibility of such a mishap. Caught off guard, Sandra looked like a deer in headlights, fearing that her scheme was unraveling. Attempting to maintain her composure, she tried to shift the blame onto me. "Oh God, Elizabeth, did you intentionally add too much salt knowing Laura was coming? I understand you have no respect for me, but you should have considered our guest." I stood firm against her accusations. "You're wrong, Sandra. I didn't put too much salt in the dish, you did. Don't act so surprised or offended. We know you tampered with the meal." "How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I'm just a poor old lady who wanted to see how good you can cook. You're just jealous and making false accusations. I bet you don't even know how to cook properly. Who knows if you really went to culinary school?" "I'm not lying, Sandra, and we both know that very well. You added salt to my food to sabotage it," I retorted, confident in the truth. Turning to her son in a plea for support, she cried out, "Scott, look at what your wife is saying. I'm sure she did it herself to make me look bad. Why aren't you saying anything?" Scott, having witnessed the unfolding events and knowing the truth, chose his words carefully, supporting the undeniable evidence rather than the heated accusations. As the tension at the dinner table heightened, Scott, holding his phone, turned to Laura and said, "I have the proof right here, Mom. Elizabeth recorded it on her phone. Laura, would you like to see the video?" Laura nodded, clearly keen on understanding the full extent of the situation. When Sandra realized her underhanded tactics were about to be publicly revealed, panic set in, her face filled with fear, and she swallowed hard as Scott played the video for Laura. Laura watched intently, then turned to Sandra with a stern look. "Sandra, what is the meaning of this? You intentionally sabotaged Elizabeth's cooking out of jealousy," she accused. "It's not what it looks like, Laura. I was just joking around with her. It was supposed to be a friendly competition," Sandra tried to explain, attempting to downplay her actions. "I don't care about the reason," Laura responded firmly. "You know very well that this kind of behavior is completely unacceptable in our industry. Sabotaging someone's cooking is a serious offense." "No, Laura, I would never behave this way at the restaurant. I was just a little jealous of Elizabeth because she has that fancy degree. I swear it would never impact your restaurant's reputation," Sandra pleaded. Laura shook her head, unconvinced. "The fact that you could do this to your daughter-in-law is appalling, Sandra. If you can get this jealous of Elizabeth, I can only imagine what you might do to your coworkers. I'm sorry, but I can't take that risk. I have to let you go." Sandra's pleas grew desperate as she began to cry, realizing the gravity of her situation. "Please, Laura, don't fire me. This won't happen again. I'm truly sorry," she begged. In our small town, job opportunities, especially in the culinary field, were scarce. The town had only one other dining establishment, a cafe, which was run by a skilled pastry chef, who was also the owner. Laura had initially given Sandra the job, more so because she was Scott's mother than because she was the best candidate. The town had plenty of other eager and capable pastry chefs who would gladly take her place. Aware of her precarious position, Sandra turned to Scott in a last-ditch effort. "Scott, please, talk to Laura. I can't lose my job over a small mistake. Help me, please." Scott, however, was resolute. "Why would I help you, Mom? Laura is right. Keeping you on staff is too risky. An employee who lacks ethics is a liability to any business." Sandra's actions had not only jeopardized her job, but also strained familial ties, proving that unethical behavior has far-reaching consequences. "I fully support Laura's decision, and you haven't even apologized to Elizabeth for what you did," Scott said sternly to his mother. "Okay, I will apologize to her right now," Sandra conceded, turning to me. "Elizabeth, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. Please forgive me." I shook my head, feeling the weight of her actions. "Absolutely not, Sandra. This wasn't a simple mistake. You meticulously planned this and acted with malice towards me. I suspect you wouldn't have even thought of apologizing if your job wasn't at stake. I can't just forgive something like that." Scott then turned decisively to his mother. "Mom, you've gone too far today. I don't feel comfortable having you around my wife anymore. We're leaving today." He then revealed that he had already packed our bags while the confrontation was unfolding. "We don't want any contact with you for now. We've given you too many chances." "Good decision," Laura chimed in, offering her support. "You two could stay with me while you find flights back home? It won't be a problem. I'll be happy to host you." Unlike Sandra here. Sandra's reaction was explosive. She began to yell and cry, lamenting about how we had ruined her life. In a single moment, she had lost both her job and her family's support. She became hysterical, but I chose not to repeat the things she said. They were truly appalling. Scott, Laura, and I left while Sandra was still sobbing on the floor, hurling accusations and insults. We went straight to Laura's restaurant to have a peaceful dinner. There, we discussed more than just the meal. Laura shared her plans to open a new restaurant in our hometown and wanted me to be part of it. Scott was also interested in investing in her new venture, and we quickly struck a promising business deal. Laura was not only a great friend, but a savvy businesswoman, and we had complete faith in her capabilities. The next day, Scott and I managed to get a flight back from the nearest city. Laura drove us to the airport and bid us farewell, promising that we would meet soon to finalize the plans for the new restaurant. Meanwhile, Sandra was relentless in her attempts to reach us, causing Laura to intervene and text her about the necessary steps to formally terminate her employment. We asked her not to contact us further and blocked her number. Later, we read the text she sent and saw she was becoming increasingly unhinged. As time passed, Laura followed through with her promise, finding a suitable replacement for Sandra at the restaurant. Despite the dramatic events, we were relieved to move forward with our new beginnings, leaving the chaos behind. After the incident, Sandra found herself without work and in dire need of money. Laura shared with us that Sandra had to take a job as a cleaner in a local grocery store as there were no other job opportunities available. While the news brought a brief, guilty chuckle from us, my feelings were mixed. I did feel a twinge of sympathy for her situation, but then I'd remember the harsh words she hurled at me, and any sympathy quickly faded. Meanwhile, Laura's new restaurant, which was jump-started with Scott's financial support, is thriving. I'm working there now and genuinely enjoying it. Laura makes regular visits to oversee operations and ensure everything meets her high standards. Over this time, our bond has grown stronger, and we've had countless fun moments together. As for Sandra, we've maintained our no-contact stance. We've decided to keep it that way until she demonstrates genuine change and progress in her attitude and behavior. This decision has allowed us to focus on the positive developments in our lives, nurturing our careers and relationships without the shadow of past conflicts. Hello everyone, I'm Susan, and at 33 years old, I found myself facing significant personal challenges in the realm of love. After the disappointing end of my first marriage, I pledged to safeguard my emotional well-being and avoid any toxic entanglements. Embracing a path of self-healing and personal growth, I was determined to build a fulfilling relationship that would enrich my spirit. When I met my second husband, he seemed like the perfect partner I had always envisioned. We shared a deep connection, and I believed we were truly destined to be together. However, as our relationship progressed, I encountered an unexpected hurdle. My mother-in-law, Carolyn, her presence became a constant test of my resilience and strength. From the outset, Carolyn tried to wedge herself into our relationship. She scrutinized my every action, critiqued my choices, and even attempted to dictate our decisions as a couple. But I stood firm. Having invested so much in my happiness, I refused to let anyone, even a mother-in-law, disturb the peace I had worked so hard to establish. Drawing from my journey of self-discovery, I confronted Carolyn directly, making it clear that her interference was unwelcome. My resolve was met with resistance. Carolyn was a formidable opponent, challenging my boundaries at every opportunity. Her persistent overreach, including inappropriate comments about joining us on our honeymoon, underscored her lack of respect for our independence. Determined to maintain the boundaries I had set, I decided it was time to teach Carolyn a lesson in respecting limits. It was a necessary step to ensure that she understood the consequences of her actions. Carolyn's behavior was not just a personal annoyance, it was a challenge to the stability of my marriage, and I was ready to protect it at all costs. As I moved forward from my past struggles, I found myself navigating a new challenge, dealing with my overbearing mother-in-law, Carolyn. Carolyn had a peculiar way of showing her affection, often overshadowing our moments with her excessive involvement. During family gatherings, which were usually relaxed backyard barbecues, she'd frequently joke about joining us on our honeymoon to capture beautiful moments of us, or she'd teasingly threaten to take my place next to Stephen. Initially, these comments seemed like harmless fun, and many at the events would dismiss them as just another of her quirky remarks. I, too, initially laughed them off, but her persistent jokes began to hint at a deeper truth. Maybe she wasn't joking at all. The idea seemed absurd. What kind of mother-in-law would seriously consider intruding on her son's honeymoon? But as time passed, I started to realize that perhaps Carolyn was more serious than sane in her suggestions. This realization dawned on me particularly sharply on my wedding day. As I prepared myself in the dressing room, my heart was full of excitement for the life that lay ahead with Stephen. The room was buzzing with the joy and anticipation of the festivities to commence. Suddenly, the door burst open and Carolyn's imposing figure appeared. Her entrance cast a shadow over the festive mood, and I turned to face her, trying to keep my smile intact despite the growing unease. Without missing a beat, Carolyn plunged into conversation. "Susan, I need to talk to you," she began, her gaze intense. "How do you feel about everything? Are you truly happy?" Her question caught me off guard. Of course, I was happy. Overjoyed, in fact. Stephen was the love of my life, and our wedding celebrated our mutual affection and commitment. "Carolyn, I couldn't be happier," I replied, my voice brimming with sincerity. "Stephen and I are thrilled to be starting our lives together." This encounter in the dressing room was just another example of how Carolyn's presence could be both unsettling and oddly direct, challenging the boundaries I had so carefully set. In the whirlwind of joy and anticipation that surrounded our wedding day, I was eagerly looking forward to the honeymoon, a well-deserved break for Stephen and me after months of meticulous planning. However, unbeknownst to me, Carolyn had other ideas, and her true intentions were about to surface under a veil of secrecy. As I adjusted my veil in the reflection of the mirror, Carolyn leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a mischievous whisper. "Actually, about the honeymoon. I've decided to come along. It'll be a surprise for Stephen. Please, let's keep it between us. Don't spoil the surprise." She walked towards the door with an air of finality, leaving me in a state of shock and confusion. The words crashed over me like a wave. Was she serious? Was she planning to join us on our honeymoon? "Wait, Carolyn, are you serious right now? You want to come with us on our honeymoon?" I asked, hoping for some clarity or perhaps a reassurance that this was just another of her peculiar jokes. Carolyn's face was a mask of stoic determination mixed with expectation. "Yes, Susan, I've always dreamed of experiencing a romantic getaway like this. I'm his mother, and I've been there for all his milestones. It's important for me to be there. It'll be a bonding experience for all of us." Her words struck me with their audacity. Our honeymoon was supposed to be a private journey for Stephen and me, a sacred opportunity to forge intimate memories as a newly married couple, not a family excursion. Searching for the right words while struggling to keep my composure, I replied, "Carolyn, this is our honeymoon. It's a time for us to deepen our bond and focus solely on each other. While I appreciate your enthusiasm, it's crucial to respect our boundaries." Her expression shifted between surprise and disappointment. Clearly, she hadn't anticipated my objection or the firmness in my voice. "Susan, I only want what's best for Stephen. I thought this would be a special surprise for him, a way to bring us closer as a family." Taking a deep breath, I summoned all the inner strength I had nurtured through my journey of self-discovery. "Carolyn, I understand and respect your love for Stephen, but our honeymoon is sacred. It's a time for us as a couple to nurture our relationship and create our memories, which will be the foundation of our future together." Standing my ground was essential, not just for the sake of our honeymoon, but for setting the tone of respect and independence in our marriage. I hoped Carolyn would respect our wishes, but the tension in the air thickened as she came to grips with the fact that her plans were thwarted. It was a defining moment, a test of the new dynamic between us. In that instant, I felt empowered, having taken a crucial step in safeguarding my marriage and establishing a foundation of love and respect. You might think that would be the end of the story, right? Unfortunately, my friends, it didn't stop there. As the day of our departure approached, a mix of excitement and nervousness fluttered in my heart. Stephen and I were on the verge of embarking on our eagerly awaited honeymoon, a chance to relax and revel in our newlywed bliss. However, a looming storm threatened to overshadow our joy. It was the morning we were set to leave when Carolyn's name appeared on my phone. Taking a deep breath, I answered, bracing myself for whatever she might say. "Hello, Carolyn. Susan, dear, I've decided to join you and Stephen on your honeymoon. Isn't that thrilling?" Her voice chirped through the phone. A wave of frustration washed over me. Hadn't we already settled this discussion? My voice tightened with exasperation as I responded, "Carolyn, we've been through this. This honeymoon is a special time for Stephen and me. We need space to strengthen our relationship as a married couple." Carolyn's reply was casual, almost dismissive of my concerns. "Yes, dear, but I've made up my mind. I'm coming along. It'll be a grand adventure for all of us. You'll see." My patience thinning, I asserted more firmly, "Carolyn, this isn't up for negotiation. Stephen and I planned this trip as a private getaway. You need to respect that boundary." A tense silence followed, punctuated only by the distant hum of expectation. I sensed Carolyn's frustration mounting, but I stood firm in my refusal. "Don't be so dramatic, Susan. Now tell me, you two are going to Switzerland, right? I've already booked my ticket. I know it was last minute, so I won't be on the same flight, but I'll meet you there," she continued, seemingly unfazed. Her words echoed in my mind, but they also presented an opportunity to steer Carolyn's plans away and reclaim our honeymoon as the sacred space it was meant to be for Stephen and me. I believed that everyone could learn and change, but sometimes it required a bold move to ignite that transformation. I was prepared to make that move, ensuring our honeymoon remained ours alone. I had already made it clear to Carolyn that I wasn't going to engage in a tiresome back and forth with my in-laws. I needed to keep the peace, so when faced with her unwavering determination to join our honeymoon, I decided to take a creative approach to protect our private time. Keeping my cool and masking my frustration, I responded to her with a bit of quick thinking. "Actually, Carolyn, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We're headed to New Zealand, not Switzerland." Carolyn's reaction was one of surprise, a gasp escaping her as she processed the sudden twist. "Oh my, I must have misunderstood. Yes, I'll need to change my flight right away. Thank you for letting me know, Susan. Absolutely, change that flight to Auckland, New Zealand. And yes, changing flights last minute can be pricey, but I know you'd do anything for Stephen," I added, a subtle nudge to ensure she followed through. Little did she know Stephen and I were actually bound for Switzerland. I felt no remorse for the deception. It was a necessary act to preserve our much-needed privacy. Carolyn hurried off to adjust her travel plans, and as I ended the call, a sly smile spread across my face. For now, our honeymoon was safe from any unwanted interference. With each passing minute, my sense of relief grew. Stephen and I were free to start our journey without the looming presence of Carolyn's meddling. It was a small victory, but a significant one, proving my resolve to protect what was sacred to us. As our plane descended into Switzerland, the excitement between us was palpable. The breathtaking landscapes, historic architecture, and vibrant culture of Switzerland awaited us. Stepping off the plane, Stephen exclaimed in awe, "Susan, look at this view. Can you believe we're actually in Switzerland? It's even more beautiful than I imagined." "I know, Stephen. It feels like we've stepped right into a fairy tale." "I can't wait to explore everything," I replied, equally enchanted by the setting. We arrived at our charming hotel in the heart of Geneva, immediately taken by its elegant decor and cozy ambiance. The city around us buzzed with history, art, and music, and we were eager to dive into the cultural feast. "This hotel is incredible, Susan." "Great choice," Stephen remarked, appreciative of the atmosphere that promised to make our honeymoon memorable. Indeed, we were set to immerse ourselves in the beauty of Geneva, celebrating our new life together in a place as magical as our dreams. "I'm really glad you like it, babe. I wanted our stay to be perfect," I responded, thrilled by Stephen's appreciation. As soon as we arrived, our excitement overcame our weariness. Stephen and I walked hand in hand through the enchanting streets of Geneva, absorbing the grandeur of Schönbrunn Palace and savoring delicious confections from the charming local cafes. "Stephen, can you believe the beauty of this place? The Alps are breathtaking," I expressed, awestruck by the scenery. "I'm blown away, Susan. This is a dream come true. Thank you for planning such an amazing honeymoon," Stephen replied, his eyes glowing with happiness. Exhausted but fulfilled, we returned to our hotel, deciding to continue our adventures after some rest. Stephen headed for the shower just as my phone rang. It was Carolyn. She cheerfully informed me that she was about to board her plane to Auckland. "Hey, Carolyn, that's great. I hope you have a safe flight." "Oh my gosh, I can't contain my excitement that you're actually joining us in Auckland. We're going to have the most incredible time together at the Oceanfront Hotel. You won't believe the breathtaking views of the harbor." I maintained the facade with enthusiasm. "Oh, my dear Susan, I am equally thrilled to embark on this adventure with you both. And I must say, I'm so glad that you finally came to your senses and saw the beauty in me tagging along on your honeymoon. I knew that you'd be understanding," Carolyn replied, her voice filled with satisfaction. I rolled my eyes but kept up the pretense. "Absolutely, Carolyn. You're so right. The flight may be a bit tiresome, but trust me, Auckland is going to captivate your heart with its vibrant cityscape, the iconic opera house, and stunning beaches. You'll be in awe." "Oh my, that sounds marvelous. I simply can't wait to experience it all, Susan. I hope Stephen is prepared for some quality mother-son bonding time. This trip will give us a chance to connect on a deeper level," Carolyn continued, unaware of the mix-up. "Carolyn, when Stephen sees you, he'll be over the moon. It's going to be an unforgettable journey filled with laughter, exploration, and beautiful memories," I assured her, hiding my true feelings about the situation. "That warms my heart, Susan. I am eager to create lasting memories with both of you. Rest assured, once I land in Auckland, I'll reach out to you immediately. It will be our signal to commence this grand adventure," Carolyn concluded. "Perfect, Carolyn. The moment you touch down, give me a call. We'll coordinate our plans," I said, ending the call with a sense of relief, knowing our actual destination remained just between Stephen and me. As I ended the call with Carolyn, a playful twinge of mischief washed over me. The thought of Carolyn discovering that we were actually in Switzerland, not New Zealand, sparked a gleeful anticipation within me. This mix-up, I hoped, would serve as a potent lesson about respecting boundaries and allowing my marriage to Stephen to blossom without her overbearing involvement. The prospect of Carolyn's forthcoming surprise added a layer of excitement to our Switzerland adventure, heightening the joy already bubbling in my spirit. It felt a bit like Schadenfreude, but the desire to share an unencumbered journey with Stephen, crafting memories meant just for us, was too enticing. However, as I hung up, a mix of relief and anxiety began to set in. Stephen, emerging from the shower, noticed my distracted state and approached with concern. "What's going on?" he asked, sensing the shift in my mood. My initial delight faded, replaced by a twinge of guilt. Throughout this entire escapade, I hadn't fully considered how Stephen might feel about the deceptive tactic I employed against his mother. The last thing I wanted was to sow seeds of deceit at the start of our new life together. Taking a deep breath, I decided to come clean. "Stephen, I have to confess something," I began, the words feeling heavy on my tongue. "Is everything okay?" he responded, his brow furrowed in worry. "Not exactly," I admitted. "You know how Carolyn always joked about tagging along on our honeymoon? Well, she was serious about it. She intended to join us." Stephen's expression turned from concern to disbelief. "What the hell?" I told her that it was out of the question because this time was meant for just us. But she wouldn't take no for an answer. She insisted she'd be coming along, I continued, my voice faltering slightly. So I misled her about our destination. Instead of arguing further, I told her we were going to Auckland, hoping it would prevent her from intruding on our privacy. I recounted the rest of the story, apologizing at every turn. I didn't want Stephen to view me as manipulative or cruel. I simply wanted to safeguard our time together from being overshadowed by his mother's overbearing ways. Stephen was silent for a moment after I finished, leaving me unable to gauge his reaction. He sat down on the bed, and to my utter surprise, he began to laugh. His laughter, unexpected yet sincere, filled the room, easing the tension that had built up within me. I was taken aback by Stephen's reaction. He laughed even harder. "You sly fox, Susan. I can't believe you did that. Honestly, it's a relief. My mom's interference has always been exhausting. Now we can truly enjoy our time together." "Wait, so you're not mad?" I asked, surprised yet relieved. "Well, I'm not thrilled about sending her to a foreign country, but I find the whole situation hilarious. I'm just picturing her face when she realizes the mix-up," Stephen chuckled, the humor of the situation easing any lingering tension. We both laughed together, feeling a renewed sense of unity. With the situation lightened, Stephen and I continued to explore Switzerland, fully immersing ourselves in each other's company and the stunning beauty around us. We delved into the rich history, breathtaking landscapes, and vibrant culture, each moment strengthening our bond and creating cherished memories that would be forever etched in our hearts. Meanwhile, Carolyn, unaware that her son found the situation amusing and was in on the ruse, was about to face a revelation. Once she landed in New Zealand, exhausted, she called, expecting us to pick her up from the airport. I put the phone on speaker mode. "Hey, Carolyn, Stephen and I are together right now. Listen, there's something you need to know. We're not in New Zealand, we're actually in Switzerland." "But you said Auckland, the oceanfront hotel," Carolyn stammered, confusion clear in her voice. "Yeah, that was all a trick, Carolyn. Sorry about that, but you really needed to learn," I explained, maintaining a firm tone. "A trick? For what? What did I do?" Carolyn's voice rose with disbelief. "You kept trying to insert yourself into our honeymoon. What kind of mother does that? When you insisted on tagging along, instead of fighting with you about it, I decided to let you believe what you wanted. This way, I could enjoy some quality time with my husband, I explained, hoping she would understand the necessity of our decision. How could you do this, Susan? I trusted you. You're no good for my son. Carolyn's hurt was palpable. Stephen, who had been by my side and listening the entire time, then spoke up. Mom, it's time you understand that meddling in our lives and disregarding Susan's boundaries has consequences. This was her way of setting a boundary and teaching you that we deserve to have our own space and privacy. What, Stephen? You too? Carolyn's voice cracked, the reality of her son's stance sinking in. This moment, though fraught with tension, was crucial. It underscored our commitment to each other and the importance of respecting our newly formed family unit. I can't believe you're taking her side. I can't believe you've deceived me like this. I raised you. I've been there for you through everything. Carolyn's voice crackled with hurt and disbelief over the phone. Mom, this wasn't about deception. It was about setting boundaries, I replied, trying to convey the necessity of our actions. Susan and I are building our lives together. You must respect our choices and let us forge our path. We love you, but maintaining healthy boundaries is key. Carolyn's angry voice echoed through the phone, loud enough to turn heads nearby. You've humiliated me. I can't believe my son would turn against me like this. Carolyn, please try to see where we're coming from, I urged, my tone steady yet empathetic. This wasn't done to embarrass you. We needed to make it clear that we require our own space and independence. It's time for you to let us build our lives and respect the boundaries we've established. I don't want to hear it. You both are selfish and ungrateful, she retorted sharply. Before I could respond, she added, Call me back when you're ready to have a real conversation. With that, she abruptly ended the call, leaving herself likely bewildered and upset at the airport. I might have felt guilty, but instead I felt relieved. Standing up for our marriage's boundaries was necessary, even if it was uncomfortable. I reminded myself that wanting privacy on our honeymoon wasn't unreasonable. It wasn't normal for a mother to insist on tagging along. Considering Carolyn's extreme reaction, suggesting she might as well have been sent to the moon didn't seem too exaggerated. Stephen, are you all right with how things turned out? I asked, concerned about his feelings. Yes, Susan. Don't worry about Mom. She's embarrassed and frustrated, but maybe this will finally show her that her behavior isn't okay. She needs to respect our boundaries whether she likes it or not, Stephen reassured me, his tone resolute but caring. As we continued our honeymoon in Switzerland, enjoying the stunning vistas and cultural delights, the issue with Carolyn receded into the background. We decided she would contact us when she was ready to reconcile. Perhaps she even managed to make something of her unplanned trip to New Zealand. Regardless, I was confident she'd think twice before trying to interfere with our plans in the future. Greetings! My name is Mary, and I'm 36 years old. I'm a mother to a delightful 12-year-old girl named Lisa. Recently, I found myself in a situation where I had to stand up for her against my difficult mother-in-law, which led to significant changes in our family dynamics. My husband Gabriel and I tied the knot soon after graduating from college. We decided to wait until we were financially secure before starting our family. Gabriel's older brother, Aaron, married around the same time as us and had a son named Kevin a year before Lisa was born. Being the first grandchild, Kevin received a lot of attention and affection from his grandmother, Madison, which was quite endearing to see. Since my parents had passed away while I was in college, I was somewhat relieved and pleased at the thought of Lisa having a grandmother who would adore her just as much. However, that expectation was never fulfilled. From the moment Lisa was born, Madison's treatment of her starkly contrasted her behavior with Kevin's. Madison visited Kevin daily at the hospital when he was born, but after seeing Lisa on her birthday, she didn't visit again. As time went by, Lisa received minimal attention from Madison. No gifts, no inquiries about her well-being, nothing, while Kevin continued to bask in her affection. This apparent favoritism deeply hurt Gabriel and me, but initially we thought it might just be Madison's way of cherishing her first grandchild. As years passed, however, the disparity only grew. Lisa and Kevin, being close in age, spent much time together, often under Madison's care. During these times, Madison lavished Kevin for the smallest accomplishments, while Lisa's efforts were overlooked or belittled. Seeing Lisa approach Madison eagerly to show something she had learned or created, only to be dismissed, was heartbreaking. On the other hand, Kevin could do no wrong in Madison's eyes. Despite this, Gabriel and I made every effort to ensure Lisa felt loved and valued at home. After 12 years of witnessing this unequal treatment, I finally took a stand against it. It was a challenging decision, but necessary to protect my daughter's emotional well-being. The situation has led to some tough consequences for Madison, which were unfortunate but unavoidable in our quest to ensure fairness and love for Lisa. I always made sure Lisa felt loved and reassured, and I reduced the time she spent with Madison, who remained unfairly critical of her. Despite this, Gabriel often stepped in to mitigate the tension, encouraging Madison to show more kindness towards our daughter. Everything escalated during a birthday gathering at Madison's house. Lisa, wanting to give her grandmother something special, created a heartfelt painting of a rare day they spent together at the park, playing on the swings. It was a memory dear to Lisa, and I was anxious about how Madison would react. I feared that if Madison dismissed this gesture, it would hurt Lisa deeply and push me to my limit. Upon our arrival, Madison greeted us cheerfully. "Happy birthday, Madison!" "Ah, thanks. How are you guys doing?" "Everything's going great. How about you?" "I couldn't be happier. My family's here and we're celebrating me." "Speaking of celebrating, Lisa made you something special," I interjected, nudging the conversation towards Lisa's gift. "You did?" Madison turned to Lisa with feigned interest. "Yes, Grandma. It's just a simple painting," Lisa replied modestly. "Let's see it, darling," Madison urged, though her enthusiasm seemed lacking. Lisa handed her the painting. "Happy birthday, Grandma." "Oh, it's a painting. You know, Kevin just made me a painting too, and let me tell you, that boy has a knack for colors." "Okay, but do you like Lisa's painting?" I asked, trying to bring the focus back to Lisa's effort. "Yes, I mean, it's quiet. Okay, I wouldn't hang it up though. If I did, it might embarrass Lisa when people compare it to Kevin's," Madison remarked dismissively. "That's enough," Gabriel interjected. "Lisa, why don't you go and play? We need to talk to Grandma." As Lisa walked away, Gabriel confronted Madison. "Why are you so harsh with Lisa? She's trying her best to make you proud, yet all you do is make her feel inadequate." "I'm not being harsh. I didn't say anything directly bad about her painting, although I could have," Madison defended herself. "Why must you always compare her to Kevin? It's clear she's working hard to impress you, yet you continually downplay her efforts." "I'm simply stating facts. Kevin is better at most things," Madison replied coldly. Gabriel sighed. "You're entitled to your opinions, but for Lisa's sake, please keep them to yourself. Every time you compare her to Kevin, it crushes her spirit. While it's true that criticism can be part of learning, constantly highlighting her shortcomings isn't helpful, it's hurtful." This conversation marked a turning point. It became clear that we had to shield Lisa from this kind of negativity. Fostering an environment where she could thrive without unfair comparisons clouding her sense of self-worth. "I always noticed how you never criticize Kevin. It's incredibly unfair to Lisa." Life might be unfair, but that's no excuse. You know what? If you're determined to keep comparing them, then I can't allow you to be around Lisa anymore. She deserves a grandmother who loves her and doesn't constantly make her feel inadequate. "You can't stop me from seeing my grandchild," Madison protested. "Mom, Mary is right," Gabriel interjected. "You need to apologize and start treating your grandchildren equally. Only then will we consider letting you see Lisa again." Madison was stunned that we were confronting her. We called Lisa over and decided to leave the party soon after. Some family members texted us, criticizing our early departure and accusing us of making a scene, but they hadn't seen the hurt on Lisa's face when Madison casually dismissed her painting while praising Kevin's. Ignoring the texts, we stood by our decision. About a week and a half later, Madison called. I hesitated but answered, thinking perhaps it was time to give her a chance to amend things. "Hello, Erin." "Hi, Madison. What's up?" "Nothing much, just checking in to see if you're still upset with me." "I'm not mad, but I am very upset with you. I've been thinking, and you were harsh to Lisa, so much so that she's hesitant to do things on her own because she's afraid of criticism." "Oh my, I didn't intend for that." "I'm sorry," Madison admitted. "Maybe you should apologize to her more than to me." "I agree. I was calling because I had an idea to make it up to her." "Oh, really? What's the idea?" "I was planning a ski trip for Kevin in the first week of next month. I've rented a lodge and we're driving there, so there's plenty of room for Lisa to join. I thought it might be a good opportunity for us to bond and for me to make amends for my behavior." "You want to take her on a trip, just her?" I was wary but curious about her sudden change of heart. "Yes, I figured it would be a great way for us to bond and for me to show her how much I care." "I don't know, Madison. Are you sure this trip is a good idea?" "Why not? You wanted me to make amends, right? This could be a step towards that." Hearing her proposal, I considered the possibility that this could be a genuine attempt to repair their relationship. It was a significant gesture, but one that would need careful consideration to ensure it truly served as a positive experience for Lisa, not just a superficial fix. "And when I express my concerns, you seem upset. But even when we're around, you're harsh with Lisa. How can I be sure you won't be even harsher when Gabriel and I aren't there to see it? I understand you want to use this trip as a way to reconcile with Lisa, but it feels like a huge step." "Are you suggesting you don't trust me? I'm her grandmother. Why would I intentionally hurt her?" Madison responded, sounding a bit defensive. "It's not that I don't trust you per se," I explained. "I'm just concerned that if something unintentionally harsh is said, there won't be anyone there to comfort Lisa right away. I promise I won't let anything happen to her. I want to use this trip to make things right with Lisa," Madison assured me. "I'll discuss it with Gabriel and we'll get back to you by the end of the week if that's okay." "Of course, take all the time you need," Madison agreed. Leaning towards caution, I knew this wasn't a decision I could make alone. So, that evening, Gabriel and I discussed our feelings about letting Lisa go on the trip. We were aware of Madison's past behavior, and the likelihood of a sudden change was doubtful. However, this was the first genuine effort Madison had made to connect with Lisa. We didn't want to deprive Lisa of what could be a valuable opportunity to bond with her grandmother. Importantly, we also considered Lisa's feelings. She still loved her grandma, and we didn't want her to feel like we were restricting her experiences because of our apprehensions about Madison. After talking to Lisa, who was excited about the trip, we decided to let her go. Madison was pleased when we told her our decision. She promised to take good care of Lisa, but I couldn't shake a nagging feeling of doubt. To ease my concerns, I gave Lisa an old phone of mine before she left. "Keep this hidden and use it to call us if you need anything at all, okay?" I instructed her quietly. This way, Lisa had a way to reach out to us, providing an added layer of reassurance while she was away with Madison. I instructed Lisa to keep the phone with her at all times and to use it only if she needed to reach me or her dad. I hoped she wouldn't need to use it, but unfortunately things didn't go as planned. Just a day after she left, my phone rang. It was Lisa. "Mom, Lisa, sweetie, how's my baby doing? Are you having fun?" Mom, I'm so scared. My heart sank. What's wrong, honey? Why are you crying? It's so cold. I want to come home. Okay, honey, where's Grandma? Are you lost? Maybe you can find a warden who can guide you back to your lodge. But I'm standing in front of the lodge. I'm so scared and cold and hungry, Mom. Please come get me. What? Okay, wait, honey. I need you to calm down and tell me what happened. I don't know exactly, but after we came back from skiing, Grandma got mad at me and took all my warm clothes and locked me out of the lodge. I've been asking her to let me in for so long, but she isn't listening. Why would she do that? Hold on, sweetie. Your dad's going to get you some help. In the meantime, can you tell me why Grandma was mad? Are you and Dad going to come and pick me up? Of course, sweetie, but it will take us a while to get there. In the meantime, we'll have someone else take you to a safe place, give you something warm to wear, and probably even some cocoa drink, okay? Please make it fast. It's so cold. I know, sweetie. Now tell me, why did Grandma get mad? Well, Kevin and I were both skiing for the first time. Kevin was struggling to keep his balance, but I could do it well. You could? Sweetie, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom, but it wasn't that hard. Hush, you don't have to be so humble about it either. Okay, but what happened next? Kevin started crying after seeing me do well, and after our instructor kept praising me, Grandma got mad at me. After that, she didn't talk to me until we got home, and then she just threw me out. I'm going to give that woman a piece of my mind. Do me a favor, sweetie, and don't tell your grandma that we're on our way. Stay near the lodge where it's safe, and someone will be there soon to help you. Frustrated and worried, I hurried to organize help for Lisa and prepared to confront the situation head on. It was clear that this trip hadn't been the bonding experience I had hoped for, and immediate action was needed to ensure Lisa's safety and well-being. I reassured Lisa over the phone. I'm on my way, okay? Yes, Mom. Sweetie, your dad just said a warden is approaching you. Can you see him? I see someone coming, Lisa replied, her voice quivering slightly. Ask him what his name is and what his favorite drink is. If he doesn't say salmon cocoa drink, don't go with him, okay? Yes, Mom. After a moment, Lisa responded, his name is Sam, and he loves cocoa drink. Should I go with him? Yes, sweetie, go with him. Take care and keep me updated, okay? Yes, Mom. My heart pounded with worry as I ended the call. I couldn't fathom how Madison could be so neglectful towards Lisa. I was certain that Madison wouldn't bother to look for Lisa, likely preoccupied with Kevin. Grabbing our warmest coats, Gabriel and I hurriedly embarked on the 4-hour drive to the ski chalet, our minds solely focused on ensuring Lisa's safety. Throughout the drive, Lisa periodically texted me, assuring us that she was okay. These messages provided some relief, but they also stirred a growing fury within us. We were incensed at Madison for exposing our daughter to such danger. Had I not given Lisa the phone, the chances of her finding help on her own seemed bleak. By the time Gabriel and I arrived, darkness was beginning to envelop the area. I instructed Gabriel to find Lisa and wait in the car with her while I confronted Madison. As I approached the lodge, I could hear Madison's loud laughter from inside, which only fueled my anger. I knocked on the door, my frustration simmering. When Madison opened the door, her expression shifted to surprise. Mary, what are you doing here? Where's Lisa? Oh, she's just out and about somewhere. You mean you don't know where she is? You were supposed to be looking after her. I entrusted her to your care. And now you're telling me she's just out and about? Nothing bad ever happens here, and I'm sure she's safe, Madison dismissively replied. Is this how you make amends with Lisa? By leaving her alone to fend for herself in the cold and unfamiliar surroundings? I was incredulous, my voice rising. Why don't I call a warden to find her since you haven't bothered? Madison's cavalier attitude towards the situation underscored the seriousness of her neglect. As Gabriel reunited with Lisa, I prepared to hold Madison accountable for her actions, ensuring she understood the gravity of her negligence. Yeah, there's no need for that. We're here because Lisa is safe at one of the warden's cabins. So you came out here just to yell at me? Madison retorted, clearly not grasping the severity of the situation. Are you serious? My child could have been seriously hurt, and you wouldn't have even known. Do you favor Kevin so much that you were willing to risk Lisa's safety? I was incredulous at her lack of concern. What are you talking about? Lisa told me about what happened during skiing today. You've coddled Kevin to the point where he can't handle not being the best at something. You've instilled that competitive spirit in Lisa, but refused to see it as anything but negative when it comes to her, I continued, frustration mounting. You have a favorite. While I normally wouldn't mind preferences, I need to know why you let my daughter suffer in the cold just because Kevin was upset about not skiing as well as Lisa. That wasn't the case at all. Don't try to twist the story, Madison snapped back. I spoke with the ski coach and he confirmed Lisa's account of the events, I countered firmly. Fine, if you must know, I can't stand that Lisa looks so much like you, Madison blurted out, her tone bitter. Excuse me? I do not appreciate that sentiment, especially when it affects how you treat Lisa. She looks nothing like your son, and you hold that against her? Kevin resembles his dad, and that's why you favor him? Madison scoffed. She deserved it. The way she was showing off today was too much. I had to teach her a lesson. You know what? If I keep talking to you, I'm afraid I might lose my temper. I will deal with this another way. I don't want you anywhere near my family again. Madison didn't follow as I stormed back to the car where Gabriel and Lisa waited. The fact that she didn't take any of my concerns seriously only fueled my anger further. After ensuring that Lisa was unharmed, Gabriel and I took her out for dinner to lift her spirits and to make sure she wasn't traumatized by the day's events. Thankfully, the wardens had been kind and managed to distract her, helping her forget the ordeal with Madison for a while. That night, after we put Lisa to bed, Gabriel and I discussed how to handle the situation moving forward, determined to protect our daughter from any further negativity. Gabriel and I decided to take legal action and consult a lawyer to determine if we could press charges against Madison for her actions. Over the next week, we meticulously gathered evidence, and ultimately, we filed a case against her for child neglect, also requesting that her rights as a grandparent be revoked. It didn't take long for Madison to react. She called me furious. What did you do? You filed a case against me? Hello, Madison. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, I responded, trying to keep the conversation civil despite her tone. Quit the sarcasm and answer me right this second. You said you would handle this another way, and you filed a case for child neglect and are asking to strip my grandparents' rights away. I see nothing wrong with that, I said calmly. You endangered my daughter because of your inability to manage your emotions. You've been unkind to her for years just because she resembles me. It's one thing to dislike me, but it's entirely unacceptable to take it out on a child. Madison was defensive. I didn't think it was this bad. You could have talked to me about this instead of charging me with a crime. I did try to talk to you, Madison, but after our last conversation, you still put my daughter's safety at risk. More talking wasn't going to change your behavior toward Lisa. Fine, charge me with whatever you want. You can't prove a single thing. Kids make things up, so there's no way to prove whatever Lisa says, Madison retorted, still in denial. You know that the lodge you rented had several security cameras, right? Not to mention we have the wardens to confirm our story, along with many witnesses. You're not in a good position, I countered. Madison began to panic. I'm sorry, please. I promise I'll be better. I doubt that, I replied. Why don't you use this time to reflect on how you can improve as a person and understand why what you did was wrong? I'll see you in court. Hearing Madison beg me to go easy on her and drop the charges was somewhat satisfying, but I knew that doing so would not only reaffirm her behavior, but also show Lisa that I was not fully there to support her. Our decision to press charges was about protecting our daughter and ensuring such behavior could not go unchecked. Over the following weeks, we were frequent visitors at the courthouse. The jury and judge seemed visibly shocked as the details of Madison's actions toward Lisa were revealed. Despite Madison's defense that she had not physically harmed Lisa, the court found her actions severe enough to warrant significant consequences. She was fined heavily, issued a restraining order to keep her away from our family, and had her grandparent rights revoked. Watching Madison react to the verdict was a moment of vindication for us. Her breakdown in court underscored the gravity of her actions, which she seemed only to recognize when faced with the consequences. After the trial, Madison tried to contact us again, but Gabriel firmly told her to keep her distance. Her pleas for another chance to make things right fell on deaf ears. How could we trust her again after everything that had happened? Moreover, Lisa had grown to despise Madison and wanted nothing to do with her, a sentiment we respected and supported. With the legal matters finally behind us, it was time to move forward. We took Lisa to a new ski resort, eager to help her find joy in skiing again without the shadow of past trauma. She took to the slopes with such enthusiasm that we spent the entire day in the snow, and I had to coax her back to the cabin as dusk fell. It was heartwarming to see her not only recover from the ordeal, but also thrive and enjoy herself fully. Life at home began to improve gradually. Aaron, Kevin's father, and Gabriel's brother reached out to apologize for the incident and informed us that Kevin was undergoing therapy to address the behaviors instilled by Madison. It seemed that Gabriel's entire family had decided to either limit or cut off contact with Madison, signaling a collective move toward healthier family dynamics. Looking ahead, I'm filled with optimism about our future. This entire ordeal has reinforced my resolve to never let anyone make my daughter feel inferior. Lisa's resilience and our family's newfound unity have shown me that no matter what challenges we face, we can overcome them and emerge stronger.